Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is the Sentinel, watching over Geekdom, and welcome back to Sentinel Reviews. Today, we begin our look at the Six and Charley arc with The Condemned, released in February of 2008, written by Eddie Robson, directed by Nicholas Briggs. The Condemned stars Colin Baker as the Doctor and India Fisher as Charlotte Charley Pollard. Also featured in the cast are William Ash as Sam and Anna Hope as Detective Patricia Menzies. Before we begin covering the story itself, I just want to address how I'm going to be covering this arc as a whole. As of right now, there are 10 stories in the Sixth Doctor and Charley arc. There are 3 main range stories. There are 7 main range stories and 3 bonus stories. I am not planning to cover the bonus stories, so I will be skipping Return of the Crotons. I'm not going to be doing the Red House unless I cover the Sixth Doctor, The Last Adventure as a whole. And I already reviewed the Avenues of Possibility when I reviewed The Legacy of Time. So, as it stands right now, with a little caveat subject to change, I'm only going to be reviewing the 7 main range stories. The Condemned, The Doomwood Curse, Brotherhood of the Daleks, The Rain Cloud Man, Patient Zero, Paper Cuts, and Blue Forgotten Planet. So, after that, let's just jump right into the review. And this is a really good story and a really great start to this story arc. It picks up where I believe it was called The Girl Who Never Was left off. The Girl Who Never Was, if that is the right title, is Charley's final story with the 8th Doctor. And that's kind of what got me into wanting to check out this arc anyway, because by starting with the 8th Doctor and then ending up meeting and traveling with the 6th Doctor, this makes Charley one of the most unique multi-Doctor companions Doctor Who has ever had, because usually a multi-Doctor companion is only a multi-Doctor companion because they stuck with the Doctor through the regeneration. But yeah, seeing Charley start off with one Doctor and then traveling with an earlier Doctor, the premise alone sounded really interesting to me, which is why I've had my eye on this arc for a long time, and The Condemned is a promising start to this story. Anyway, as I said, this picks up where The Girl Who Never Was left off. Charley sending a distress signal, and the TARDIS coming to pick her up, only to find it is the 6th Doctor. And if there is anything I would critique about this story, it is the chemistry between India Fisher and Colin Baker. Because usually what Big Finish is really good with, when they introduce a new companion, they're usually really good at setting up that companion and establishing a chemistry with the Doctor they're traveling with right away. You know, they did it really well with Evelyn and the 6th Doctor, and Anna and the 4th Doctor, and even Aramem in Eye of the Scorpion was introduced really well, and her chemistry was good. But even though Charley isn't a new companion, her chemistry with the 6th Doctor isn't established all that well. It's not the best. Although in context, that does make a lot of sense, because Charley knows how important the Web of Time is. So because she knows this is an earlier Doctor, and he's not supposed to know her until his future, she can't tell him anything. Which leads to some good play between them, setting up this mystery for the Doctor of who this girl is. Because even though Charley is trying to hide her identity, the Doctor immediately picks up that she's hiding something. And, like I said, this dynamic is set up really well. It's just, like I said, my critique is the chemistry between the actors. Although I did just finish the Doomwood Curse, and I can say their chemistry improves dramatically. So, the Doctor tries to take Charley home, only for the TARDIS to be pulled off course and bring them to a murder scene. From there, they get separated, which they remain so for most of the story, which doesn't help the chemistry thing. And Charley is kidnapped, and the Doctor is arrested. And it is here that we meet Patricia Menzies. This chronologically is the introduction of Patricia Menzies, a character who will show up throughout various Sixth Doctor stories. I know she shows up in an Evelyn story, I think. And I think she shows up 2 or 3 more times in this arc, and of course, Avenues of Possibility. And so far, the only other Menzies story I've heard has been the Avenues of Possibility. But that being said, because I liked her there, I like her so much better here. This is such a strong introduction for her. She's very no-nonsense, but at the same time, she's not like that cold-hearted cop type of character. There's still a bit of warmth to her. It's very layered, you know? She kind of reminds me of Castellan Spandrel in The Deadly Assassin, how even though she is cold, she's not heartless. She doesn't find the Doctor and say, "Oh, you're guilty." She simply looks where the evidence takes her, and it takes her on the road to realizing the Doctor is innocent and he's telling the truth. And I have to really kind of praise Anna Hope's performance, because the way she plays it and the way it's written, Menzies' reaction to the alien world around, the alien universe around her, and her accepting of it is played really well. Like, as they're talking, and I can't give away all the context because it comes up later. She says something along the lines of, "It is disturbingly easy to follow along with all of this." And it's such a good line, too. Like, I love Menzies' chemistry with the Sixth Doctor, and so I'm really excited to see more of her. Actually, come to think of it, most of the side characters are really good. Like, Charley meets a man named Sam, and their rapport with each other is really good, and as Charley continues talking with him, they do a good job of escalating the story, of building up the tension of what's going on. And because this is a mystery story, I'm trying to be much more scant about the spoilers, because unless you're Columbo, it's no fun knowing the mystery ahead of the game. So yeah, I'm trying to avoid as much spoilers as possible. I will say, though, this story is really good at subversion. Like, it gets you into thinking, oh, this mystery is going to be solved this way. You know, it gets you into thinking one specific way, only to pull the rug out from under you. And it's really good. And most importantly, with mysteries like that, you don't feel cheated. As I said, most of the other side characters are really good too. There is a doctor who helps the police. You know, he serves as a coroner, and he's okay. Yeah, he's okay. I swear there was more I wanted to go with. Something, it ties into something later, so. The police chief, one of the things I like is, you know, he's obviously portrayed as very snooty, very uppity, very strict, you know, sort of that stereotypical commanding officer type of role. But there's a little scene where, as he, Menzies, and this doctor, Dr. Aldrich, are on their way to the morgue, he talks about a video game he plays with his son. And it's completely superfluous to everything, but it's such a nice small touch because it really humanizes him. It lets him be a little bit more than just that stereotype that the character essentially is. And there's a couple more characters I really want to talk about, but I can't because, again, that gets into spoilers with the mystery. But yeah. And I will say this too, because this story rewards repeated listenings, you know, because it's like, on my first listen through, it was like, how did you do that in regards to certain characters, especially as we get closer to the end? And it's like, how did you do that? Wait, what happened? And then when you get to the end, and then when you learn what was going on this entire time, and then when you re-listen to it, it's like, oh. And it's really rewarding. Once you know what the mystery is, once you know what's going on, listening to it again and picking up those small details is a really rewarding experience. Anyway, and then the mystery is solved, and it ends with the Sixth Doctor and Charley deciding to continue their adventures together, which is another good scene and helps to set up this arc really well, because the Doctor is very much like, I don't know what to make of you, Charlotte Pollard. And because earlier in the story, she introduced herself and she said, I'm known as Charley to my friends. But then here at the end of the story, he says, I don't know what to make of you, Charlotte. And Charley's like, you called me Charley earlier. And what I kind of like too is, I'm not a big continuity nut when it comes to Doctor Who. In fact, I kind of defenestrated continuity. It makes enjoying things so much easier. But it seems like Charley may have happened before Evelyn, because with this ending here, we get a little bit of that formerly, even though it's not true now that I realize it, because he is in his blue coat, which he started wearing around his travels with Evelyn. But it's like we get a little bit of that callous, cold, sort of brusque Sixth Doctor from season 22. Anyway, The Condemned, as I said, is a Before the conclusion, the story is really briskly paced, which I think adds to the enjoyment, you know? It's like, a lot of times lately when I've been listening to Big Finish, I've had this sense of, are we done yet? But I didn't get that with The Condemned. You know, more so every time an episode ended, I was like, aw, that's the end already? But yeah, The Condemned is a great start to this story arc, with a compelling mystery, great characters, and with a compelling mystery and great characters. So I'm going to give The Condemned a 9 out of 10. But what were your thoughts on The Condemned? Start a conversation in the comments below. And then join me next week when I should really get better at these. Next week I'm reviewing the Doomwood Curse. So yeah, those were my thoughts on The Condemned. What were yours? Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and if you can, please share my videos to help my channel grow. In the description box below, you'll find the link to my Twitter, where you can follow me and get updates on the channel, and the link to my Ko-fi, where if you're feeling generous, you can help support the channel. This is the Sentinel, watching over geekdom, and I'll see you guys next time.